Good morning. This is a bustling place today, yes? Can you feel it? There's all kinds of stuff happening here, outside and inside of everyone. Yes, so welcome. My name is Dyann Castro-Wehr, and I'm your service assistant today. And today, our minister, Frank Castro-Wehr, will be giving our talk, and the talk title is Faith Presencing, Shaping Substance. Stay tuned. Our music ministry today is the lovely Marcia and Kathy, otherwise known as Heart and Soul. Welcome.
Long ago, a child was born into a world confused and torn, who brought the gift of hope to you and me. Even if you don't believe, there's still a gift if you receive it from the heart of the child of peace. Child of peace, pure sweet, show me how to be a child of peace. When a child is born, they bring the gift of peace, an offering from the universe for all to see. And in my heart there is a space, pure and sacred, warm and safe, where the child of peace is born in me. Child of peace, pure and sweet, show me how to be a child of peace. And so the seeds of peace are sown in fields of hope where love is grown. Now unto us the light has come. Heaven's work will soon be done. In every soul that's born will love increase. Remember when you see a child to greet them with a loving smile. Give your heart to the child of peace. Child of peace, pure and sweet, show me how to be a child of peace. Child of peace, pure and sweet, show me how to be a child of peace.
Children of peace, as we prepare for this time of quiet reflection, I invite you to put your feet firmly on the ground. Take a few deep cleansing breaths. And if you wish, close your eyes or soften your gaze. Breathing in and out with a few deep cleansing breaths. We begin with a moment of prayer. And as you recall any person or situation that is in need of prayer or healing, we allow these names and situations to rise to the altar of our heart. Trusting fully in the highest outcome, we release these people, these situations, in the power of our faith, knowing that the divine good is happening right now. I invite you to speak these names out loud so we can join you in your affirmative prayer. So, allowing ourselves to sink deeper still, we take a few more deep cleansing breaths. And now we welcome silence, this beautiful place within, this beautiful present that is always available to us. Silence. If thoughts arise, we allow them to pass through, and again, we welcome silence. This is our touchstone. Knowing we can always return to this place to be renewed, to be refreshed, to experience the divine. We move now to our reading from the daily word for the day, which is faith. As Advent season begins, I feel a quickening, a renewal deep within me as I embark on the spiritual journey leading to Christmas. Sometimes I wish I had a way of looking into the future and knowing what to expect. But even though I cannot know how the future might unfold, I can still be prepared for it through the power of my faith. Having faith means I have unwavering fidelity to spiritual truth. My faith is my anchor, keeping me steady during shiftly worldly circumstances and focused not on the things of the world, but on the power of the Spirit. My faith keeps me steadfast in the midst of uncertainty, inventive when things meet with stagnation, and adaptable when facing changing circumstances. I turn my attention to God and feel my soul illuminated by my belief that everything is indeed working out for the good. I align with this truth and go forth blessed by my faith. Please join me in the affirmation. Faith heals, prospers, blesses, and sustains me. Together, faith heals, prospers, blesses, and sustains me. So it is.
Amid the winter's cold embrace, clothed in a shroud of white, an anxious world in silence waits through the dark of night, as the lonely song of a dove echoes across the sky above. We can feel the moment is near. Soon the child of peace will appear. What child is this the world awaits with quiet expectation? When will he come, the promised one, to bring us peace and salvation? Raise your prayers on high, prepare the way, the time is nigh. Come, come, Emmanuel, a child of love and peace. The air grows colder, the light grows dim, darting the sky above us. But soon the chill of the winter wind, the war with God's gift of love, and the star will brighten the sky, and songs of joy will echo in heaven on high. We will know the moment is here, the child of love and peace will appear. Child of peace will appear.
Yeah. Thank you. This is the first Sunday of Advent, so we light the candle for faith. And our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, defined faith as the perceiving power of mind linked to the power to shift substance. Ooh. They talk funny back in 1910, a little different. But I want to break it down for a minute, because this sense of the way in Unity we thought of faith is just potent. So let me break down this first part for just a second, the perceiving power of mind. On the count of three, point to your mind. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Oh, okay. We got a lot of this. We got some of this. And everybody, that's sure. Sure. but realized something that the Fillmores and Unity was trying to do for its time. They were in a place where they were looking at traditional religion, which they loved and were embedded in, especially traditional Christianity. And they were living in a time in Kansas City that was Kansas City at this time was on the edge of the wilderness, the cutting edge of new things. It was like the coast of the time, It was like where new things were happening and new ideas were emerging. And they were very much steeped in the energies of modern thought. And they were attempting to say, we have this traditional language, and we're trying to take this beautiful tradition, but we're trying to use language that people who are modern might understand. So let me ask you this. On the count of 3, point to your soul. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. And nobody did the same thing as they did with mind, right? I didn't see that. And yet for the Fillmores, Charles Fillmore, this is synonymous. This is the same thing. He was looking at, we have this idea. If you read all the millions of pages of all the writings from the Fillmores, you'll never see them say mind and soul, because they meant the same thing. They were trying to take these traditional ideas and make them more contemporary, so people of a modern sensibility would kind of get a better sense. It's like, I don't know what soul is, but I'm modern, I'm contemporary, I'm in the scientific revolution. My work, my life, all has to do with this sense of I'm working in the material world and I understand what mind is. I have a better sense. So let's change. So the perceiving power of your soul, linked to the power to change substance. Or you might say, if you go back to a more traditional language, to change the very being of things, to produce, to outpicture a change in the very essence of what is. Or the perceiving power, what you can perceive, what you can understand, what you can put together in your heart, in your intuition, in your understanding, in your imagination. From all the aspects of ourselves, how can we put together the understanding of things in our soul, in our mind, so that we can show up and actually know the truth that we are a potent energy for changing of everything that is around us, starting in our experience, which then outpictures into the actual material world. This is faith. Faith is the power that's inherent to who we are. It is the essence of who we are faith beings. Some people might say faith is the same as know. You could say there's a knowing that we have. You could say there's a faithing that we have. Now, of course, we live in a postmodern world. So we have modern, we have pre-modern, traditional, we have modern, we have postmodern. Maybe instead of saying, the power of our mind, we might say the power of our stories. The postmodern world, this time since the 60s, where we start saying, wait a second, there is a lot of stories out there. It's not just about white men. There is a feminist movement, LGBTQ movement. We realize that all sorts of people with all sorts of realities of their life have a story. We start being more sensitive to, oh my gosh, the indigenous people. You mean the people that were here 10,000 years before, the Europeans came? Yeah, they have a story, and it's valid, and it's beautiful. The perceiving power of our ability to listen to the stories around us and know that those stories have ancient wisdom that allow us to actually mold the very substance, the very realities of our world, both, again, our internal world that we experience and the external world that then outpictures as actual changes in the world. That's a lot. So this is this faith. How do we boil this down? Faith means using my sense of my soul, my mind, my ability to widen and use all the aspects of myself, wisdom, heart aspects, thinking aspects, understanding aspects, imaginative aspects, all the parts of me can show up in the world and have a tremendous impact. Both I and we and all of us have tremendous impact on the unfolding manifestation of creation. We're co-creators with the very divine itself. We are co-creators with source energy. We are co-creators with God. God has put this energy, this faithing energy in humanity so that we can show up as, as partners, as co-creators. Oh, how do you say this? The divine energy of God flows through us with our faithing power. We have this much energy to transform our lives, our communities, the entire planet. Oh, the entire planet. We don't have power to, oh my gosh. And talk about climate change, we have the power to change the very energies of this entire planet. And God says, co-create. Let's get aligned with principle. Let's get aligned with health. Let's get aligned with well-being. Let's get aligned with wholeness. And also, here's the other cool part. We've been talking about this, and for just some new people, it's just a quick synopsis. And Ken Wilber talks about these ways we show up as I, internal, my subjective, my truth, internally. There's also me, external, how I show up in a body and skin and physically. There's also we, it's all of us, internal, our understanding. We're a community. What's that? I'm a community. How do you define it? How do you measure it? How do you know? Well, we know. We know we're a community. But the community also shows up in the external, right? We have a building, there's woods, there's property, there's all this stuff. I, we, it, and all the it's. Maybe an example will help. I'm playing pickleball the other day. Oh man, I'm all excited. I made a great drop shot over there. Me, internal, I'm really happy. Oh, my shot, again, I've been hitting the net all day. It went over, it was great. Then the person on the other side reached out and crossed the court, and my partner reached over and knocked it, and the other person hit it, it rolled across the net, it fell down, and all four of us went, whoa, we just cracked up laughing. There was the I of it, and we all felt the we of, right? I'm looking at Sherry, our pickleball friend here. We all felt the we. The four of you come together, and in some ways it's like, who won? I don't know, let's do another point. It doesn't matter, it's like there was the I of it, I felt the experience, but I so enjoyed the we of it. Instantly, this community, and we all know the rules, we know how to play, and we're just enjoying the play. This interchange, the we. And I looked up, and I'm at Whatcom Community College, I'm the park, and I look at this beautiful place. It's just these new courts, and there's all these people, and it's just this And I got back a little further, I looked up, I was like, what a beautiful day. The clouds going overhead, and birds, and people, and cars, and school, all of it, the big we. Everything we do to change anything in one of those areas changes the rest. We break them apart as if they're separate, but they're all really an interplay. If you like the quantum world, we call this quantum entanglement. You can talk about different things, but you really can't tease them apart. They're all entangled in nature, interconnected. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about this, the interbeing of things. We can talk about one thing, I can talk about me, but there's no me without all of you. You're part of who I am, and I am part of who you are. And we're all part of Bellingham. We're all part, there's this total entanglement. And what that means then is what happens when I'm faithing, when I'm doing my faith work, when I'm aligning to truth, it has the power not only to change me and my experience of things changes my reality of things. It's like I see it different. Why? I chose to see it different. I used to see it because I was stubborn and mad. Now I said, you know what, why don't I just choose love? And my experience changed. And lo and behold, my experience changes, and all of a sudden the person I'm with, I'm like, oh, they changed. How did they change? I started being more loving, and they changed. How does that work? And then the community I'm in, there's this more love and there's more energy. The community changes, and that goes out to the wider world. Or something happens in the wider world, and it comes back and it affects us. Always entangled. Always happening in this faithing. But there's a piece of this faithing that's important to recognize, is that when it works most potently is when it's aligned to the law, the principle, the truthful story in its unfolding. I'll give you an example. In the it side of things, there's laws of physics. We know what they are. Strong gravitation, weak gravitation, gravity. There's these different laws. If light comes through this window and I put a prism, what's going to happen? It's going to reflect, right? It'll do it, and it'll do it, and it'll always do it, and it'll always do it. Why? Because it's what it does. We use the word law. Maybe that's more, I don't know what, it's more modern principle. It's a truth of how things work. And the more we align with the truth of how things work, the more we can work those things for our benefit. My first job was a chemical engineer. I worked in the chemical plant. There was a way that we would put in a feedstock, a petroleum product, and through combination of vapor pressures and temperatures and distillation towers and cracking towers, and we've been doing this for hundreds of years. It always works. We know how it works. We know how to separate, molecules. I worked in like the water system treatment, filtrate. Maybe you have a water system treatment in your house. We know how to do that. It's a law. It's a principle. Chemistry. It just works. Change the temperature and the pressure. We know how to do this. We've known how to do this for a long time. And on the material side of things, we tend to go, oh, well, there's a law. There's a things work. On the subjective things, it's kind of like, well, I don't know. You do your thing, I'll do mine. Well, you can, but there is a way that works better than other ways. There is. There's these laws in all these quadrants we talk about. The laws work. Used to be people made boats out of wood. I heard this from who was the guy? A show one time. The law of flotation. They used to think, well, if you throw a piece of wood in the water, it floats. If you throw a piece of metal in the water, it sinks. Therefore, what should you make a boat out of? Wood, because wood floats. But the law of flotation has nothing to do with whether you make it out of wood or metal or anything else. It doesn't. Because the law of flotation it's just a matter of buoyancy. And you put something in, and how much water you displace is equal to how much space is in between. So now we make these ginormous ships out of metal, stacked to the thousands of pounds of containers that are made of metal. All these things made of metal, and they travel around the world on the water, made out of stuff that doesn't float. But it obeys the law of buoyancy. It obeys the law of flotation. There's these physical laws. There's these physical ways things work. And if we align ourselves with the law, they work, and they work every single time. And then we find better ways to make them work and new ways to streamline. We're constantly looking. The law of lift and drag. People used to say, well, if you're going to fly, I guess you tape a bunch of wings on your arms or something. Because why? Everything that flies has wings. Therefore, you must have to have feathery wings to fly. And now we take these ginormous metal contraptions and they go all over the planet. Why? Because they obey the law of flotation, of lift and drag. These laws of aviation. They just work. So in this world, when we align ourselves with the principles that work, they work every time. So then the next phase is you go, okay, that's the laws in the quadrants of the its, the things out there, how they work. Oh, and the systems. Now we talk about the COP's going on right now, right? I don't know if you know the United Nations COP conference, and it's taking place in the United Arab Emirates, and a guy who's in charge of the oil companies is in charge of the climate change conference, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. But it's amazing how things tend to work out, even despite what you might think will work against you. I noticed that there is a letter that, it's one, I don't read many papal letters anymore. I grew up Catholic, I sort of don't read that stuff. But Pope Francis wrote a letter called Laudate Si 7 years ago. My God, it's beautiful. I mean, it just reads so beautiful. Talking about the laws of love. It means all praise to you, Lord. And it comes from that Canticle of Francis that we've read many times here. We read it a few years ago on the Feast of Francis. So praise to you, Lord, for Sir Brother Sun, who is bright and shiny, and Brother Sun and Sister Moon, and that whole all praise to you. Every one of the lines starts with Laudate Si. And so he just wrote a new one called Laudate Diem, all praise to you, God. And it says, look, I wrote you a letter 7 years ago about the climate issue, and you're not listening. He wrote it to send it out so it would be at the United Nations Climate Conference. And he said, we need to get aligned with divine law of caring for creation. This is the most urgent moral obligation we have in our time. Just fascinating. So we're seeing, and you can look at those, it's really quite, it's interesting and beautiful in many ways, but the sense of we need to align ourselves with this law of our interplay and our interconnectivity and the truth that we're entangled, that we all matter to each other, that the entire world belongs to all of us. And what we do in one place impacts what we do in another. The climate has rules. It plays by climate rules, and it goes around the whole planet. And it doesn't say, well, your rules are different over here, so we'll, no. It is the way it is. The world operates in the way it operates. We get aligned with the law. And then what I want to talk about is these internal spiritual laws. These internal, and we know a lot of them. There's some that, the law of attraction. I know that gets a lot of play. That here's a good example of law of attraction. I don't know what it is. Everywhere I go, I end up hanging out with all these amazing people. I go to the mall, there's an amazing person. I go to the store, there's an amazing person. I go to eat, there's amazing. I go to Unity, there's amazing people. Everywhere I go, I'm surrounded by amazing people all the time. Why? Okay, well, let me give you a different example. I don't know what it is. Everybody I hang out with these days just wants to gossip and gossip and gossip. Why? Law of attraction. Yeah, those people keep finding me. Well, yeah, maybe it's a little bit of like, Some of you are going, who have I been hanging out with? So that's an internal, that's a law that works on the subjective side of the equation, right? But nevertheless, consistently valid. The law of cause and effect. So much of the Tao Te Ching, you read it just over and over, it talks about these balancing laws of cause and effect. Jesus in Matthew is just really clear. It's the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Why? Because as we do unto others is what's going to be coming back mostly. When we live in a place where we're putting out certain kinds of vibrations, the vibrations will match right back to us. Unless we're the ones that say, I'm going to overcome what's coming at me, and I'm going to establish a new vibration. And when in doubt, let's pick love. Let's just pick love. Oh, that's the third candle, by the way. We're going to talk about the law of love. But today, we really specifically want to talk about the law of faith. The power of how I perceive what's going on. My choice to hold in consciousness, the perceiving power of my mind, the perceptions I want to hold in my consciousness are linked to this shaping of my experience and the world around me. This is faith. And it's fun. David MacArthur, who was here in January, remember he did the mind, the heart math? He wrote a book, and one of the big chapters of his book is 2 chapters, the law of faith and the law of love. Again, we'll get to love in a couple weeks, but faith, the sense of what I choose to perceive, what I choose to hold, is then in turn of what is linked to what I can outpicture. And he says it works like this. So I read what he said, and I've been doing it all week. It's so good. Here, let's just try it. So let's do something, an emotion that you have yourself. Something that, but first off, just align yourself. Just think for a moment of a time in your heart where you were just so happy, so felt a sense of love. It could be, I give the sense of, seeing a child born, or some connection with a partner or a friend or a parent or some friend, something that you just went, oh, that was a moment, some vacation or something that you went to and said, my heart was so full. You got that? Okay, now take something that's going on in your life, in your personal life, that you feel is a bit difficult. Some feeling, some worry, some maybe fear, some concern. Now take that concern, take that worry, take whatever that emotion is that you find to be a little challenging for you, and allow that emotion just to sink into your heart. That same place where earlier you talked about that beautiful feeling, that loving place, that place of fullness of love that you've experienced in the past. Allow that worry, that concern just to sink like dropped into a pool of melted butter of love and care and concern. Just allow that to come in. And the focus here is we're just loving ourselves. And it's helpful. Imagine that an older you, a wiser you, that you as a parent talking to you as a child that says, all of this is working out for your good. What you're doing is beautiful, and you are going to work through this. You are going to find your way through this. These feelings will be transmuted because I love you. And your inner wise self says, I trust you. I have faith in you. I know your potentiality. We're on a beautiful path. We're surrounded in love. Never step away from the love of your own heart. And any kind of energy that just put into this loving embrace. Work on this together. We will cleanse this. We will transmute this. We will transform any kind of sadness, sorrow, grief, doubt, despair, anger, jealousy, remorse, whatever it is. Allow it here on this altar of your own heart and know that you are loved. You are loved. You are deeply embedded in the love of life, in the love of God, in the love of your soul. You're here as love. You show up as love. The divine love flows through you. The divine love acts as you. The divine love transforms everything in your life into just more love. And that is the nature of your being. And then with a sense of gratitude, with so much gratitude for the love in your heart, the transformational love in your heart, take a breath. Yeah, just come back to the room. The law of faith, the law of affirming the truth, that your own ability to know your story and change that story, to know your mind and change your mind, to know your soul and let the soul, your very soul, wash over you with this energy of love to transform everything that may be going into our lives and bring it into a field of love. Come from the place of love, then we have the tools to go forward and deal with it in a productive, transformative, positive way. We talk about the law of faith. The law of faith is a subset of a bigger law. It's called the laws of loving transformation. The laws of loving transformation. And they work every time. If you obey the laws of flotation, it doesn't matter what you make the boat of, it will sail. If you follow the laws of aviation, it doesn't matter what you make the airplane out of, it will fly. If you work inside the laws of transformation and use the law of heart and bring issues to your heart and bathe them in love, the law of love and the law of faith will transmute those issues and allow you to go forward with new experience, new insight, and new awakened awareness of what the right next step for you is for the positive aspects in your life. Right? Yeah. You can do this for your community as well. Let's say you can just take Unity of Bellingham. And you can just, I was doing this week, let me just take Unity of Bellingham. And let me look at just imagining all your smiling faces, because that's part of it. The people who aren't here, that's part of it. The grieving that's going on in our community right now. There's grieving, you all know that. There's been some people who are going through surgeries, people going through medical issues, people who are dealing with the deaths of their loved ones. There's people dealing with all sorts of things, big transitions in life, the transitions of life. We're dealing with different kind of losses. There's grieving. holding that as well and bringing all that to this loving, the laws of loving transformation, and bringing all that into not denial, not wishing it away, not necessarily saying, oh, it shouldn't be, leaving all the shoulds beside and aside, just saying, can we sink into this pool of divine love, which is the truth of our community in the law of transformation, of loving transformation. It is the love that we have, the love that we share, the love energy that we can sit in that will transform our community to keep moving in this direction of being this positive, progressive, practical, transformative spiritual community. Oh, that sounded like what we say about unity, right? There it is. And there's the point, to be transformed in love. And then we find that what used to bother us is say, yeah, let's move beyond that to move to a new place of love. Let's rise up a step, because I don't know if there's a law of being mad at each other. Is there such a law? No one wrote that one. Let's the law of holding grudges. The law of why did Reverend Frank say it that way? That ain't right. The law of why do those people, why? What law is that? It doesn't work. It's not a law because it doesn't, it might feel good for a minute. But the things that are laws are things that are, or principle, you could say, the story that's true, if you want to use it that way. The story is true always. And the other stuff, it has no staying power. It doesn't last because it doesn't transform. So in each point in our spiritual community, in our home community, in our community of couple, we can follow this law of this, one of the laws of transformation, which is the law of faith. The perceiving power of my mind, what I am going to choose, the perceiving power of me, what I will choose, the story I am going to choose to tell, the principle I'm going to choose to stick with, the way I am going to choose to show up is linked with the power of transforming being, transforming substance, what Fillmore said, transforming being, transforming not only my inner experience, but then as it transforms my inner experience, it transforms the experience of the I, it transforms the experience of we, it transforms it, and it transforms all of it. Because we are co-creators with God. The very divine nature in, as, and through us. The Christ presence, the very Christ presence, alive in, as, and through us. So here's what we're working on. 4 candles. And there might just be 4 laws of, the law of faith, the law of peace, the law of love, and the law of joy. And how all these laws or principles or new truthful stories, whichever way you want to call them, will lead us to this new Christmas, this new reality, this new opportunity to allow this Christ self, this lucid self, this deep true self, this real capital R self of our nature to come forth so that we can live from that. And watch how that in turn changes my experience, our experience, the very physical world, and has an impact on the entire entangled, all of it. It's a good Advent, huh? Good stuff. Okay, blessings.